Spider-Man 2, finally. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it worth your money at the end of the day? Well, word on the block is that it's not bad, but it does have some underwhelming parts to it for sure.
And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino. I'm a little under...
Oh, that guy, no, he just absolute... Oh, no, yeah, after you see that, and, you know, you're already in a modern age and guns exist, you use a crossbow against a super-powered guy, and he does that? You suddenly understand all the wrong that you have done in your life. And mainly that wrong is using a bow instead of a gun. But still, he understands.
Under the weather,
He's
I do apologize
not good.
If I sound a little different, but you know I'm dragging my butt out of bed for Spider-Man. Insomniac is...
You see that? You see that? Could have been better.
Back at it here with their third Spider-Man game. This is Spider-Man 2. Of course, we had the mainline 2018 Breakout Spider-Man and the spin-off game, Miles Morales, both of which I really enjoyed. Just cards out on the table.
Never even heard about them, honestly.
Well, here, I want to show my extreme bias. I really, really enjoy Spider-Man, and I've played every damn Spider-Man game. The good ones, the weird ones, the broken ones. Insomniac's previous two games had it pretty much figured out, with some little complaints here and there, and I'd say once again, they've pretty much done it with a few minor complaints here and there. This is a different beast from the previous two games, though. It feels a little less emotional and more bombastic.
The point of Spidey's spider sense is that when it happens, he pretty much 9 out of 10 times dodges it, especially if it's just a normal dude, you know, doing that. Also, how did he know that he's gonna be there? That's sus. But in any case, when you demonstrate the Spidey sense in a game, in a cutscene, you probably should have him dodge that, honestly, because, you know, that's what happens 9 out of 10 times.
And crazy and comic booky, and it still has some great character moments and a couple of tearjerker bits here and there, but this feels like a love letter to some late 80s, early 90s Spidey comics with
MJ. Wow, look at that, the first girlfriend in the history of ever, honestly. Woo, man, oh lord.
Big crazy action, over the top heroics, and threatening enemies. Like God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok, it's great. It adds a ton more gameplay and more cool stuff, but I think the initial shock value of the story and presentation of the first game still feels a bit stronger. But still, overall, this thing is absolutely incredible. So let's get into it. Just so you know, we've been playing a review copy provided by Sony, and this footage was captured on PlayStation 5, swapping between the graphical modes, and this footage is as spoiler-free as I could possibly make it.
Okay.
But be warned, there are some cool surprises like right from the beginning of this game, and I think other video reviews...
The combat seems pretty okay, not gonna lie. It seems decent. Admittedly, it's very much your typical Spider-Man combat. What do you honestly expect? They're different, you know? It's a bunch of pew pew pew, whip this, whip that, and, you know, that's kind of it. Not bad.
Reviews are gonna show off a lot more than me. I want you to be surprised with some of this because it made me, as a fan, really happy to discover it myself, so that's just a warning. Anyways, Spider-Man 2 takes place a few months after the events of Miles Morales, so the two Spider-Men are in full swing together. You know, they're doing their hero thing. They're fully formed, and they're in a good groove until Kraven, Harry Osborn, and Venom come to town, and that's really the back of the box, or like the...
Oh boy, yeah, Kraven. Man, yeah, people are gonna enjoy that. Oof, dude. Kraven. Oof, man, he's slightly stronger than the average man. Great villain.
First trailer description stuff, no spoilers, but I'll get into how effective all that story stuff is in a little bit. Now, gameplay wise, the loop is pretty similar. You're in the city, progressing through the adventure, and
the skyline looks pretty okay. Not bad.
Those main story missions are broken up by the game asking you to go out into the world and do open world stuff. Love it or hate it, your character will say after a mission, I should really check in on crime before I go do the next thing, And that's when you go out and do all the other stuff. There are hidden collectibles to find, enemy bases.
So Spider-Man's just running through the street and everyone's like, that must not be Spider. Well, I guess it makes sense if you think about it. But yeah, still questionable.
To take down a lot of the standard stuff you've already seen. If you love Spider-Man, it's good, solid Spider-Man busy work. Thankfully, a lot of it is a lot more streamlined and shaken up a bit to feel a little bit less repetitive. Like stopping car chases is less of a big thing you go and do, and then it's one of the same 2 car stopping animations in the minigame over and over and over again. Now here, it's just something that usually pops up really close to you while you're swinging, and you just swing on over and do a quick heroic, and it can be over and done with in a few seconds. It's like these small quality of life changes that make a difference. I also found a lot of the collectibles more interesting this time around. There are quite a few, and a lot of them have like sub-story ramifications that are pretty fun actually, and pretty interesting to help them feel a little bit less like busy work and more like something you genuinely want to do and get something out of it, for this adventure. And now, aside from the usual business,
overall, are people enjoying Spider-Man, or do they have their repercussions? Because I have seen people are really split on Spider-Man. Some just don't care about the small itty-bitty problems that the Spider-Man 2 has. Some do. I mean, it's pretty cool that you can just, run off a building and then, splatter yourself on the pavement. Let's be real. Everyone probably has played at least one Spider-Man game in their lives, and they probably instantaneously in the first 1 to 2 hours of gameplay needed to see what happens when you, go in front of a train. What happens when you dive off a building and do nothing? Do you just splat? Do you hover like a bee? Do you stick the landing? Do you do some kind of, ground pound attack? What happens? These are questions we asked. Like in GTA, when you need to see what happens when you dive from a plane and splat on the pavement. Is there a blood stain? Well, probably, yeah. And things like this. Pretty interesting. And, a couple of these things are the problem that people are talking about here. For example, that there's a lot of reused assets in buildings. If you pay attention to detail, currently that seems to be Spider-Man 2's biggest problem. When you're climbing up a building like an office or something, it is extremely easy to spot that, wait a minute, this lady in this, floor is the exact same lady as the lady above, up 1 floor above, and guess what? The exact same lady as 2 floors above now. Now, they probably can't be the exact same lady, like, one by 1 floor. That's probably not allowed. But, 1 floor, same lady. 2nd floor, next lady. 3rd floor, same lady. Things like that. And I mean, they do take you out of the game. That feels pretty bad, right?
Busy stuff. There are good, compelling side missions this time around as well, like actual story stuff. And some might surprise you. They're often lighthearted and sweet and simple, but they're much stronger diversions than just like, clear another bad guy camp. Especially a few that have their own somewhat self-contained stories with some familiar faces and a couple of surprises. Now, enemy factions, like in previous games, are kind of what a lot of the side objectives and stuff to do kind of revolve around. The enemy factions aren't too various. They're like sort of too...
I mean... Okay, now this is Starfield levels of what's going on. Look at this. This guy's clearly looking at him. Spider-Man's webs actually make a sound when they land because, it's a solid thing hitting another thing. Yeah. How are they not noticing and starting to blast him?
Aren't too various. There are like sort of 2 main ones and 2 side ones, one of which can be stressful.
That's probably even less noticeable than this. You see, things like this take you out, Hey, still better than Starfield, but still pretty shitty. I mean, look at this. This is not the enticing gameplay that anyone wants, honestly.
Anyway, that's all I'll say. I'll definitely say could have used one more solid full enemy faction to keep things interesting, but at the very least, the main enemy faction.
Yeah, a silent takedown my ass. You see, well, these are the things that people don't like about the game, and it's kind of clearly visible why.
The game does have a lot of different.
This is as unbelievable as it gets.
Now, as for the main missions, I know it took a while to get to this. Sorry, they're great. Good Spider-Man adventuring, slower moments with characters and puzzles, and some solid boss battles and big set-piece spectacle moments you'd expect. Some boss battles had a surprising amount of challenge to them. I found myself getting brutalized a few times, more than I expected.
Dude, who is this even supposed to be? War machine at home or what?
Expected, as these games are typically fairly easy breezy, but there is
I don't recognize that. That's just a rando dude.
Absolutely awesome shit that goes down on screen. You know, not to sound like too much of a hype man, but there were some moments with stuff happening on screen where my mouth was just open in.
Oh, that's the Sandman. Dude, this is where people understand that, PlayStation, not exactly a good console. Oh boy. And PlayStation is better than Xbox. Imagine if this was actually supposed to be shown on Xbox. Your house would literally explode, probably. Dude, people were complaining about cutscenes on PlayStation so hard about this stuff. People thought that their TVs were bugged, that their screens were busted. No, turns out the PlayStation is just literally clinging to be alive at some points when these things happen. It's pretty insane.
Especially some of the Venom stuff. That's all, like, holy shit, you're not ready. And gameplay-wise, combat still feels similar, but the biggest additions are the power abilities from Miles Morales on one trigger hold with face buttons mapped, and the other side for on-the-fly use of Spidey gadgets. You're able to use powers to great effect, whether you're Peter or Miles. You know, zipping enemies up in the air, stun locking them, an AoE attack, cool. Stuff like that. And Peter's are dependent on his spider arm tech or symbiote powers. And with the symbiote, there's also a kind of rage meter you can temporarily activate. For Miles, he gets like a big cinematic electric blast wave that clears the map.
By the way, in the comics universe, I'm pretty sure for a very long time symbiote Venom, Venom, but the symbiote Venom, I should probably say the symbiote Venom, is not actually a bad guy. Is everything still hinging here on, you know, from the 90s cartoon version of Spider-Man? Is all of this just made about that? Because rage meter for Venom, I mean, it probably makes sense, but, you know, still, this kind of looks, you know, a lot evil, not gonna lie.
The other big thing is the parry. Enemies will flash a certain color for these big attacks. These attacks can be deflected right back at enemies, and it works well enough. I don't know how much a Spider-Man game needed a parry, but it changes up the feel a bit here and there, especially with certain enemy types. And in higher difficulty levels, like the unlockable difficulty called Ultimate, it becomes much more necessary. Now, speaking of unlockables, the skill trees are solid this time.
Look at that.
Where other...
What do we have here? Spider Whiplash, okay. Press blah 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 left enemies in the air and works on brute enemies.
Things are streamlined. The process of
okay, so that's the spider suit. Well, those are the spider arms that Stark gave him. I think it was supposed to be him. I don't remember.
Unlocking and upgrading.
More stuff. Okay, so there's the symbiote route and there's the spider arms route. Huh. Okay. Enemies gathered them up, launching them into the air. That's pretty nice. Look at this. Look at this. This is how you do a better skill tree. There's no, Spider-Man deals 5% more damage. Imagine that. Imagine a world where you have none of that. That's a good world. That's a good world. This is good. Tie skills, tie abilities, tie interesting things to this stuff, you know? And make them better. You know, this is obviously going to be less interesting than this, and whatever these are going to be less. This is good. This is good. Don't put this. Don't put literally the strongest thing in the game at the very start of the game. Looking at you, by the way, Fallout 4, with your here's the first 5 minutes of the game. Here's power armor, minigun, and you kill a Deathclaw, and then you get weaker. Yeah, not great, but this looks decent.
Is a bit more in depth. Peter
also, some choices. I think. I'm not sure if this can be unlocked. Yeah, this probably can still be unlocked. But that's nice. That's
Miles
neat.
get their own.
Let's actually look at some else of these. What do we have here? Symbiote Blast causes bigger reaction and does more damage. Okay. So whatever Symbiote Blast is, it does bigger damage. This is bad. This is stupid. But bigger blast, that's cool. That's what you want to unlock. People want to probably unlock whatever this is, not just because of the damage, but the bigger blast. Because bigger is cooler. And that's true. That's pretty much true. Damage could not even be here, and no one would care, probably.
Miles get their own.
Oh, what is this? Surge mode lasts significantly longer. If that's some kind of special thing that you enter, I guess that's also decent. Okay. By the way, when I say, oh, damage increases, I don't mean actually things like this. If there's some kind of specific mode that you unlock after, doing something that you need a meter, gain a meter for it or something like that, then if you have something that increases its duration, that's pretty cool. If you like using that, that's decent, and it feels different than just a baseline damage modifier. So even this is different than just having a baseline 20% more damage shit. Okay, this is good.
Separate skill trees to work through, both with their own branches into.
Wait! What was that previously? Gadgets? Oh no, this is just Spidey, and this is Morales. Okay, so they have completely different. Okay, that's neat. That's really neat. Okay, so there's double the fun essentially. You have him with all that he can do. Venom slash to launch enemies into the air. Okay, that's cool. So. You have even a choice how you want to play it. Aesthetics and gameplay. That's pretty cool.
Both with their own branches into different avenues for...
Yeah, look at this. Interesting.
Their respective abilities.
That's nice.
So, I do wish the characters felt a little bit...
I wonder Whoa. Oh, and this is just... Oh, and this is movement. Look at this. Yo. We don't talk about this enough, honestly, but unlocking movement is pretty cool, okay? Unlocking movement skills in, for example, Dying Light. That game. Yeah, I mean, the one with the zombies and parkour. Yeah, unlocking movement in games is really good, because you really enjoy it. At the start, you're kind of weak. You do basic stuff. And then after, you unlock whatever this is. I have no idea what this is. But you unlock it, and that's kind of nice. Even if it's a small unlock here, you kind of enjoy it.
More separate and distinct, other than Peter having the symbiote. At the end of the day, you're still just comboing dudes in the air and doing the little triangle circle finishers like you always have. But it holds up. The added suit abilities do help keep things fresh. There's also a suit tech tree for the characters that you can dump open world exploration stuff into. Health upgrades, damage upgrades, stuff like that. Also, while Peter and Miles have their...
Okay. You see, this is a completely separate thing. Right? Suit tech is a completely separate thing, This doesn't take away. Because also, again... Just 20% more damage is stupid, but this is... I mean, I guess this is nice that it's here, in this case, okay? Because, yeah, this is just basic, more health, more damage, more stealth, more whatever. And that's kind of extremely basic. Yes, obviously it's extremely basic. But this does not, this is not the skill tree. This is just an added thing to already a decently diverse skill tree, which is what you want, It's right there next to your skills and gadgets. Dude, that's pretty good, you know? Because this doesn't take away. For example, think about Starfield, okay? Your skills, gadgets, and, well, this is all just combined in one thing, and it's mostly just 3% more damage from ballistic weapons. And the talent points bug, by the way. Doesn't even work. You know? This is different, okay? I still, by the way, don't like it. But if this does not go against, well, you know, everything else, an actual skill tree and a movement skill tree and all gadgets and all of those, yeah, you know, you can throw this in. People are gonna like it. Sure, you know, upgrading your damage feels good. Especially when that upgrade damage does not count your full level of... Yeah, this is okay. This is a very well done, actually, skill tree. Okay, I like it. I really do.
Own trees I mentioned earlier, they each have a collective shared tree too. The main thing you get out of this tree are some new traversal abilities and upgrades. Web swinging, you know, my personal favorite way of getting around in a video game ever, is not massively upgraded from the last game, but it does have some fun little additions for the dedicated web swingers.
Pretty nice.
First of all,
you can also, by the way, toggle off web swing support, and people have done some pretty messed up stuff with that, okay? One of the things is, you can swing your web, you can, you know, okay, this is a building, this is where you hit your web, and this is you, right? You swing, the web assist is off, and guess what? Well, you're going in a circle, and now what's happening? Well, you see, you see this thing right here? Yeah, that, oh, actually, you can't. You see this ledge right there. You see that ledge right there. Well, because swing assist is off, you actually plummet face first into that ledge, and guess what? Now I have a broken spinal column. Well, actually, that's your least worry, because you're dead. Pretty fun stuff.
The animations this time around are absolutely incredible. The characters just look like they're having so much more fun, and they're so much more lively and expressive as they swing around. Also, you can get your momentum up and move through the city faster than in the previous games. This game wants you getting around the city quick. It loads it all in really fast, and they're clearly very proud of that. Now, one of my favorite ways to get yourself moving through the city quick is the big loop that you can do. Now, if you do it right, you can fling yourself really far. It feels a little awkward sometimes with how the camera pans
yeah,
out.
everyone has seen this.
It makes sense physics-wise, but I don't...
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but honestly, I don't like it. I don't like it. Because you see videos of people doing this off of buildings, and he's just doing the and then he goes. And, well, you don't need to be a genius to figure out that his webs are not attached to anything. They're just right there in the air. But some spiders actually... Those spiders weigh nothing. That's why they can fly in the air. He weighs something.
Don't care. It's cool. You can also do a slingshot yank and release wherever you are to really get going fast. And you can also do like a hard right turn or left turn swing where the character will yank themselves.
Well, look at that movement. That's like really good, honestly.
You can actually hold that button longer, and if you can get near, say, like a flagpole, you can just swing around it horizontally. Now, it's a little awkward because the character can just do it forever, but again, it's cool when you use it for certain situations, and these are just good new tricks to get around. I mean, they didn't...
I understand what they went for, but there's a fine line of between, okay, we want to do these things, because the horizontal swing forever, it's because you're not supposed to do it forever, right? That's the main thing. But again, they did it because they want you to do it forever so you can make the perfect move, timing, attack, or whatever that you want or can do with that. But then again, if we know that we can do this forever, that takes away from the experience. The fact that we know when he does the ballista shot thing, it's not, the webs are not attached to anything. It feels bad. When Spidey swings in a park and there's nothing above him, we know that, and that takes away from the experience, okay? This is something that Starfield failed horrendously and tragically in, okay? So Spider-Man should probably not go the same route. Because all of these things, you know, if you experience them constantly, are gonna take away from you, and it's gonna be pretty bad because of it.
Overhaul the web swinging, but there's just a bit more to it. And then there's also the wingsuit, the web wings to get you around even faster. Fast travel is available to be unlocked by spending time in each district, and it's really fast and impressive visually, but the web wings are kind of like the in-game fast travel. It's great.
Bro. I remember when they did the smooth fast travel thing. I saw it on Twitter before the game was released. Oh, it was great. Look at this seamless transition. Wow, you can switch from a character. Bro, it's literally GTA 5 transition. Okay? And that was at a time when, what's it face? That was a strange sound. That was a plane? Huh. Oh, it's a single, probably. It's not a commercial liner. It's some probably rich guy with a plane. Okay. Starfield, dude. This was at the time when the game wasn't released, and the Starfield fans were still not, just constantly posting how bad the game actually is. And they were like, "Oh, look at this! There's also loading screens here. How is this worse than bruh?" It's the same as in GTA. GTA 5 load screens aren't great, especially if you had a slow PC, which I had when I started playing that game when it came out. Still could play it though, was completely worth it. But the difference is, dude, even in Spiderman, if you're gonna use fast travel, which you're probably gonna use honestly rarely because half the fun of the game is traveling. Imagine that, Bethesda, imagine that. Half of the game's fun is traveling. Wow, who would have expected that? And it's interesting, dynamic traveling. Where you see things can happen and whatnot in between. Imagine that, Bethesda, imagine that. Dude, even Fallout New Vegas, a game like 13 years old at this point? No, it's more than 13 years old at this point. I don't know how old it is, but it's pretty old. Even that game's loading screens weren't the problem, because at least they were fun, they were interesting. There was the spinning roulette thing that was the substitute for the loading animation. It was great. It was an interesting poster. There was a lot of details you could look at. It was fun. Okay? Starfield's loading screens are just trash. Spider-Man 2's loading screens are honestly no better than GTA 5, and that's honestly not great. But you do the Spider-Man loading screens how often? Almost never. Yeah, exactly. Versus Starfield that has, a loading screen attached to pretty much every 5 minutes of the game. And when you're traveling at, 5 loading screens to every 30 seconds of the game. Not fun. Completely different. I just want to point that out.
In short bursts, just to bust them out and glide quickly where your webs can't attach. Like if you're too high, it's nice in a pinch. But you can also glide into these wind tunnels in the city that shoot you through town at a higher rate of speed. And it kind of just feels like you're Superman, not really Spider-Man. It's a nice way to streamline, again, traveling around the city, getting through things quick, especially getting across bodies of water really quick. But I still prefer to just swing the old-fashioned way because I'm an annoying little web-swinging fanboy. That's just me, though. But the city itself, it's bigger, but it's still manageable. Even the parts that aren't new feel significantly different. I don't know, more traffic, more detail, seems like more unique looking buildings, and more time of day settings and weather effects and just a brighter overall color palette make a hell of a difference. The new area additions are some of Brooklyn and Queens, and they feel distinct. As someone from the greater New York area, I'd argue that they're
I mean, that looks shit.
less accurate than Insomniac's Manhattan, but it gets some of the feel right. Just in like a small, kind of quaint and...
Is it full of drug addicts on the streets and people are getting constantly robbed? Nice.
Charming way. Like Queens in real life is a monster, but it's hard to encapsulate that in a really small little game world. Still, I'm just glad it's there, and it's nice that there are tons of bridges to swing around and really just more to explore. The city just feels...
Yeah, you see what I mean? He just swinged in air. That's kind of I don't like that.
So much bigger, like when you're perched on a building overlooking an entire highway, like the BQE, just like filled with cars and traffic. And again, with the bridges, with the river, it feels way more like a fully fleshed out New York now. And technically wise, it all performs great. Loading, fast traveling, everything is super fast and detailed. It has a performance and fidelity mode, as well as a 40 mode if you have a 120 Hz TV, which is nice. And none of the modes really show significant compromises to my naked eye, other than frame rate. I had 2 crashes in like over 30 hours of playing. That was really my only complaint.
Oh, now, look, it's Sawdust Man. Because this looks like sawdust, not sand.
Other thing I think might be a negative for some people are the Mary Jane sections. They were criticized in the last game for kind of killing the pacing.
Bro, Mary Jane is the worst girlfriend of all time. Hell no. Still, everyone who has seen the Spider-Man cartoon as kids, you would still absolutely destroy Mary Jane, if you know what I mean. But still, she's as bad as a girlfriend as it possibly could honestly be. She screams, I'm gonna give you mental illnesses.
But I didn't mind them personally. Now, in Spider-Man 2, they bring back Mary Jane sections, and this time they feel far less creative. While some people would argue in the previous game they would kill the pace, I still found like what I was doing in the story as Mary Jane was interesting. Here, it's her just thrown into a few generic sections. One moment is a standout, but the rest of the sequences had me just going, oh man, this again, come on. It's not a huge part of the game, but it was a negative that I could find. And that being said, I personally really liked what they did with Mary Jane's story and character arc. There's some good stuff there, and that really goes for everyone, really. There's one element from the previous games I wish was followed up on a bit more, but otherwise, I thought they did a really good job weaving Miles into a Spider-Man story involving these classic villains.
Oh, it's the deaf girl. How do people feel about the deaf girl? She's deaf and mute, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, how do people feel about this? Because you're you just go around spraying graffiti and that's pretty much it. Not a lot of character development there, not gonna lie. But then again, they are like teenagers and stuff, so it does make technical sense. Plus, they're in one of the shittiest cities in America. So what else are they honestly gonna do?
Shaking things up quite a bit, while also keeping the relationship between Miles and Peter interesting, especially in some pretty nuanced ways. So really what I'm trying to get across is that while the original Spider-Man 2018, left me emotional by the end of the game, the end of Spider-Man 2 just had me going, hell yeah, dude. The action in this thing is crazy, the spectacle is nuts, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm overly gushing or anything, but I just really like Spider-Man, and if you're coming to this and you already know how I approach these things, and you know I'm a Spider-Man fan, I can at least tell you that I am very happy from that standpoint. But of course, that's a before you buy.
Hey, what? Spider-Man's not Batman. Spider-Man can kill, even though he chooses not to.
You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinions. And now we want to hear yours down in the comments. Granted, it's still a few days before the game releases, but we'd love to hear what you're expecting. Maybe like the first thing you're going to do when you get out into the open world. Maybe experiment with some of those web swinging powers. Let's talk about anything Spider-Man 2 down in the comments.
Okay, that was from Game Ranks. Jeez, I want to say Gamer Ranks because that makes more sense, but whatever. Anyway, not bad. No spoilers, as per usual, I guess. You know, not the worst thing ever. Didn't talk about the minuses. Kind of disappointing about that because again, the negatives are the most interesting ones in the games. Okay, if it's a great story, you just say it's a great story. Also, we did not hear that. Oh my God, the story's mind blowing. Any of that, which is, yeah, it seems to be right. You know, this Spider-Man Before You Buy seems to be kind of on point with what I hear. It's not spectacular. But hey, it's playable if you want to, you know? It's definitely not going to be Game of the Year or anything like that. But, it's, you know, you can play it, it's fun, and stuff like that. I guess that's decent. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid, and thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.